After a downtown gym closed over some controversy, the LGBTQ community and its supporters came out in full force tonight along the canal in downtown Indy. Our David MacAnally on how an Indy Pride event that was canceled happened anyway, with a show of strength and a lot of unity.
Exercising unity. Near the St. Clair Bridge on the canal, the Indy Pride fitness event went on, not quite as planned. The pro-LGBTQ workout was set for the CrossFit Infiltrate gym a block north, until an owner told Eyewitness News, quote, the ownership canceled the event because of our beliefs. Then CrossFit official Russell Berger was fired after tweeting that, quote, celebrating Pride is a sin. But event organizers were flexible. A show of strength and muscle, including political muscle, and the economic kind, too.
People speak with their wallets, and my stance is that something happens that I don't agree with, that I speak with my own actions, and that's what I came out to do.
He also quit the gym, along with other members and much of the staff, forcing CrossFit Infiltrate to close.
After hearing that news, it did not seem like it would be a fit for us, even if they did stay open.
It doesn't only affect the LGBT, it affects everyone else, like families. It's like closing like the door right on your face.
I wanted to be here to support my friends, to show myself to be a supportive ally, and to show some love.
She said those who stood up against the gym's policy showed a lot of love, too. The owner of Broad Ripple Fit Club also came out to work out.
I think everybody should get to work out and celebrate who they are as a person, and that's why we're here today. I think something good's going to come out of it, though, for sure.
CrossFit is about community, and when something happens to part of the community, everyone rallies around them.
David MacAnally, Channel 13, Eyewitness News.